Artificial intelligence is transforming everything from smartphones to medical breakthroughs. But behind every AI leap is a powerful engine, the AI chip, or GPU. These chips can process millions of calculations at once, crucial for AI to learn and evolve. Without them, building advanced AI is nearly impossible. In China, tech giants like Alibaba, ByteDance, and Tencent are locked in a race to dominate AI. They need the world's best chips to power smarter apps, immersive virtual worlds, and next-gen business tools. Their future depends on access to this hardware. The undisputed leader in AI chips is Nvidia, an American company. Nvidia's chips are prized for their performance and the CUDA software ecosystem, which makes AI development easier and faster. Most engineers are trained on Nvidia's platform, creating a cycle where more users mean more software, making Nvidia even harder to replace. Chinese tech firms are deeply invested in Nvidia's technology. Data centers, code, and talent are all built around it. Switching to another chip would mean rewriting code, retraining staff, and risking a fall behind global rivals. Despite political tensions, demand for Nvidia's top chips in China remains insatiable. For these companies, Nvidia's hardware isn't just a preference, it's a necessity for survival in the global AI race. The stakes are high, and the thirst for AI power is only growing. The question is, how long can this dependence last? As the world's AI ambitions accelerate, the battle for the best chips is just beginning. Beijing sees China's reliance on American chips as a strategic vulnerability. What if the US cuts off the supply? China's tech ambitions could be derailed overnight. The government's answer: technological self-sufficiency. Billions are being poured into China's semiconductor industry, with incentives for companies to design and manufacture their own advanced chips. Regulators are pressuring tech giants like Alibaba and Tencent to buy local, not just for business but for national security. The message is clear: support domestic suppliers, even if it means short-term pain. But for tech firms, the choice isn't easy. Domestic chips still lag behind in performance, and using them could slow AI progress, risking their global competitiveness. These companies are caught between government demands and the realities of the global tech race. The balancing act is getting harder as geopolitical tensions rise. China's push for homegrown tech is a long-term project, but the pressure is immediate. The future of China's AI industry depends on how quickly local chips can catch up. For now, the dilemma remains: national goals versus business survival. The stakes couldn't be higher. Despite Beijing's push, Chinese companies keep coming back to Nvidia for one reason: performance. Nvidia's chips are faster, more efficient, and more powerful than any domestic alternative. In AI, speed is everything. A month's delay can mean losing the race. But it's not just hardware. Nvidia's CUDA software ecosystem is the industry standard, with years of tools and expertise built around it. Switching to a different chip means losing access to this vast library and starting from scratch. Even if Chinese firms wanted to switch, local suppliers can't produce enough chips to meet demand. The result? A powerful lock-in effect. Chinese tech giants buy Nvidia chips not just by choice but by necessity. The cost and risk of switching are simply too high. Until domestic chips can match Nvidia in performance, software, and scale, the status quo will hold. For now, Nvidia remains the essential ingredient in China's AI ambitions. The competition is trying to catch up, but Nvidia's lead is formidable. The AI race is far from over. Huawei leads China's charge to break Nvidia's dominance with its Ascend series of AI chips. The Ascend 9 and 10B is Huawei's flagship, backed by massive R&D and a new software ecosystem called CAN. But even Huawei's best chips lag behind Nvidia's in raw power and speed. For companies racing to train large AI models, this gap is a deal-breaker. Cambricon Technologies, another domestic contender, faces similar hurdles. Its chips can't match Nvidia's performance or scale. Both firms struggle to produce enough chips to meet the demands of China's tech giants. The reality catching up to Nvidia is a marathon, not a sprint. Despite progress, Huawei and Cambricon remain secondary options for now. Chinese tech firms can't afford to slow down, so they stick with Nvidia. The local challenge is real, but the gap remains wide. Until domestic chips close the performance and supply gap, Nvidia stays on top. The race is on, but the finish line keeps moving. For now, homegrown chips are a promise, not yet a solution. US export controls blocked Nvidia from selling its most powerful chips to China. Nvidia's answer? The H20, a chip designed specifically to meet US restrictions while still serving Chinese customers. The H20 is a compromise less powerful than Nvidia's flagship, but still the best legal option for China's tech giants. Initial reactions were lukewarm, but with no better alternatives, demand surged. Nvidia stockpiled hundreds of thousands of H20 chips, anticipating a rush once US approval came through. For Chinese firms, the H20 isn't ideal, but it keeps their AI projects alive and lets them stay on Nvidia's familiar software. At $10,000, $12,000 per chip, it's a costly but necessary investment. The H20's journey shows how geopolitics shapes the tech market, forcing companies to adapt, compromise, and innovate. For now, the H20 is China's AI lifeline. It's not the chip they want, but it's the best they can get. The market is constrained, but the demand is relentless. Nvidia's ability to adapt keeps it in the game. The chip war is far from over. Even as the H20 ships, Chinese tech giants are eyeing Nvidia's next move, the B30A chip. Built on Nvidia's cutting-edge Blackwell architecture, the B30A promises a massive leap in AI power, up to 6 times faster than the H20 for some tasks. The price will be steep, but Chinese firms see it as a bargain for the performance boost. Nvidia is racing to get B30A samples to key customers by September 2025, but there's a catch. US approval is needed, and with tighter export controls, nothing is guaranteed. The B30A represents the next round in the high-stakes game between Nvidia, China's tech giants, and US regulators. Nvidia keeps pushing the limits, designing chips that squeeze under legal thresholds. Chinese companies are eager to buy, desperate to stay competitive. The B30A is more than a chip. It's a symbol of the relentless demand for AI power. The outcome depends on politics as much as technology. The race for the next big thing is on, and the world is watching. The US government tightly controls which AI chips can be sold to China. Worried about military applications, Washington sets strict technical limits. Anything above the threshold is off-limits without a hard-to-get license. That's why Nvidia's top chips are banned and why the H20 and B30A exist. They're engineered to just barely comply. But the rules keep changing, creating constant uncertainty for Nvidia and its Chinese customers. A chip legal today could be banned tomorrow, making long-term planning nearly impossible. In a twist, when the US approved H20 sales in 2025, it demanded a 15% cut of all revenue from those chips, a highly unusual deal. This tax on Nvidia's China business was the price for access, but it created new headaches. Nvidia's shipments were delayed as it worked out the logistics of sharing revenue with the US Treasury. Chinese customers grew frustrated, waiting for hardware they desperately needed. The episode shows how political decisions in Washington ripple through global supply chains. For Nvidia and its customers, the rules of the game can change overnight. The chip war is as much about politics as it is about technology. Every new deal sets a precedent and raises the stakes. The world's AI future hangs in the balance. China is vital to Nvidia's business, making up 13% of its revenue last year. CEO Jensen Huang estimates the Chinese market could be worth $50 billion if only Nvidia could sell its best chips without restrictions. That's why Nvidia goes to great lengths to design special chips and navigate political minefields. Uncertainty has rattled investors. After a cautious sales forecast that excluded China, Nvidia's stock dropped 6%. The company's future growth depends on keeping Chinese customers loyal, even with downgraded chips. Huang reassures customers that demand is strong and the H20 is coming, but acknowledges rising competition from domestic players like Huawei. Nvidia's dominance is no longer guaranteed. Now it must compete on performance, price, and availability, while dodging political crossfire. The stakes are enormous. Nvidia's ability to adapt will determine its future in the world's biggest AI market. The battle for China is a test of resilience, innovation, and strategy. The outcome will shape the global AI landscape. China's tech industry stands at a crossroads. The nation wants to lead the world in AI by 2030, but that requires the best chips, most of which come from Nvidia. This dependence clashes with China's drive for self-sufficiency. Tech giants must choose stick with Nvidia for top performance or pivot to domestic chips and risk falling behind. Relying on US tech keeps them competitive now, but leaves them vulnerable to future export bans. Supporting local chips could build long-term independence, but means short-term setbacks. The next few years will decide China's AI future. For now, performance is king, and Nvidia's chips remain essential. But government pressure is mounting, and domestic chips are improving. The outcome will shape not just China's tech industry, but the global balance of AI power. The race is on, and the world is watching. Will China build a world-class AI industry on its own terms, or will it remain tied to its biggest rival's technology?